Hey everyone, this is Mikedot, and welcome back to the podcast. I'm here today with Afromania. Okay, how you doing?
No, I'm doing good, Mike, man. It's gorgeous outside, man. I wish you could see the window right now because the sun is beaming right now, so it's really good. Unfortunately, if you're not at a place where it's dark or it's raining, then it's not good on your end. But it's great for us.
Yeah, what he said. Well, yeah, it is a beautiful day outside. Spring is finally here. The weather is finally getting warmer, and that's a good thing. Kind of tired with all the having to take my porta heater out, and yeah. Anyway,
for a minute, you almost was. I thought you were about to say porta potty for some reason.
I said porta heater.
Okay, yeah, it sounded almost like porta potty, but it is porta heat.
Yeah, because I don't really have like good heating here. But anyway, yeah, we have a few things to talk about, like a follow-up on the whole situation regarding the crew and the digital rights being pulled from that game that people are really upset about. We also want to talk about ex-Blizzard boss suggesting that players should be able to tip developers after completing a video game. And we also wanted to just quickly talk about a little comic book hero known as Invincible. That's all the rage. But AAA studio wants to develop a AAA Invincible game, which I'm kind of iffy about, but I believe Afromania has the details.
Yes, so based on the details, as you just said, so Skybound Entertainment, over on also was Republic, today just launched actually a brand new Kickstarter campaign in the hopes of starting this brand new AAA project.
Well, like I said, not necessarily a Kickstarter, because
in the realm it's
crowdfunding.
It's a crowdfunding. Okay,
because Kickstarter is a a brand. We gotta distinguish the two.
Yeah, but you know why? And I totally understand that. I feel like you're right. You're absolutely right. I feel like when I say Kickstarter, usually when people see these crowdfunding, they think Kickstarter. I understand Kickstarter is a brand, but it's crowdfunding. So yes, you're absolutely right. It's more crowdfunding than Kickstarter, but the audience would be able to understand a bit of the difference on that. But with that also being said, but yes, it is a crowdfunding campaign that is happening right now in terms of hopefully getting this project off the board. From the details from that, they have already raised 18 million funds for it. Also was raised an additional maximum of 5 million. So as of this recording, they have managed to get 450,000 already in crowdfunding from the people. So with that also naturally being said, we really at the moment don't really know what type of game this project is going to be. And from what we have read and the research we've done, we really don't really understand exactly how. It's a little bit unclear exactly between the relationship between if this is like they already mentioned that they've raised enough capital for it, but then they're going this crowdfunding way in order to raise a little bit extra more capital. It is a little bit not clear exactly how this project is going to how this is all going to work out, and how I guess us fans are going to benefit from it, other than the fact that you're going to be the first ones on the ground when this project pops off, I guess, in terms of, I guess you get access to a test play, or you're probably going to get some kind of unlimited edition in some form of shape or way. But that being also said, this is not Skybound's first introduction to games, as we know that they also had released an Invincible Guardian of the Globe game, which was a RPG game where they partnered up with Ubisoft. And we're also going to get a bit of a Telltale game with the character Adam Eve that's actually happened to release on Steam of last year that already dropped out. So and again, they've also done some Telltale games with The Walking Dead. So again, this is not Skybound has done a lot already in the gaming world. That was the information that I was able to sit down and drop. I guess one of the questions I would ask to you, how do you feel about this particular campaign that's going on for the crowdfunding of a AAA Invincible game?
Yeah, I'm not sold on it at all, simply because of, like you said, there is no word of what genre this game is supposed to be yet, and that makes me cautious that they are just playing it by ear.
Yeah.
And that's not something you want to do when you're working with people's money like that. Also, just the whole website, how it doesn't seem to be structured like a typical crowdfunding website like Kickstarter, as mentioned before, because
there is a lot of it's almost like a not a PR, it's almost like this is what we do. It's more like it's laid out like a PR manual. That's probably not the word I'm thinking of, but it's laid out in a way of like, hey, this is Skybound, this is what we do, this is how we work, this is blah blah blah, this is our numbers. It doesn't, like you said, it doesn't lay out a plan step by step exactly what they're doing. It just kind of shows you, hey, this is the success that we had. Oh, we're just trying to launch a AAA game, we want your money, kind of weird way, if that makes any sense. I know that I'm a little bit all over the place though, but like I agree, it's not how it's laid out, how normal crowdfunding would be laid out. Like, this is what we're trying to do, this is the type of game that we're making, here are the goals that we're trying to lay out, if you put on this much money you get these certain tiers, blah blah blah. This just seems like another, I guess it feels like, hey, we're asking for more funds because we didn't manage to get enough money the first time to get this project off the ground.
Because the way that the website is structured, because this is the first time I've ever heard of Republic.com. And it seems like you're, instead of a Kickstarter where you're pledging, so you're technically not like, they don't have a full obligation to actually deliver like a product. Here you are actually, it seems like you actually are investing in something to be made. And with investment, there are obligations that come with that.
Almost like a shareholder.
And that means you have to absolutely deliver on you have an obligation to actually deliver on something with when instead of a Kickstarter where you don't.
That makes that, now the more that we're talking about it, does make a little bit interesting. So how about that, in a way of going that route, instead of being pledges that you're basically like a shareholder? Because like you said, if you are a shareholder and you're on the first ground of this, now granted, based on how this is set up, you probably don't have an entitled set of exactly what Skybound is trying to do and trying to get this project off the ground. But like you said, if things don't work well, you should get some of your money back in case the project goes belly up.
Yeah, well, it seems like you get like actual like stock investments.
Yeah,
like stock investments if you invest, because you're not investing in this project or this game. You're investing in the company. Yeah. So this is like a completely different like way of doing this, and like, it's more akin to actually like applying for like stocks and whatnot, which is interesting. But like I said, like not knowing what the product is actually going to be, I personally wouldn't like invest.
Well, if that is the case of the investment, but then if that is exactly how it is, you're not really investing in just the game. You're investing in investing in multiple projects moving down.
The pipeline. That's true. But so personally, I would just be interested in just like a single game rather than just a whole company. That's why I would rather prefer they go down to like the traditional crowdfunding route, but I guess they have much bigger ambitions, and that's fine and all. It's probably not for me, but I could understand why somebody would want to, like, put their eggs in a basket like this. So
And yeah, I think it is a very interesting way that they are doing this too. I guess it really depends on if you not like an Invincible fan, but you just believe in Skybound overall as a company, that they're willing to go this route, because they also mentioned that they do have a lot of industry veterans on board with, I guess, the building of this company. You know, they do have expert people from former employees from those AAA companies as well that they want to start building ground with. And I know that you scoff around when you hear veteran experts.
Yeah, I've heard that many times as like a sales pitch.
I really do understand it's not one of the best sales pitches, but then again, you also have to understand, coming from their point of view, this is a completely different kind of medium. They don't have enough of the expertise to be able to start their own video game company. And yes, you would definitely you do really want to lean on people that hopefully or in the business that have their best interest in heart to be able to pull off a project like this, that can be guided in the right way. Because I understand when you hear these guys are coming from Activision, coming from Blizzard, coming from Microsoft, coming from Sony, yeah, you do scoff at that, but not everybody from those companies are bad. Like, some of them are generally went into those companies hopefully to make really video games, unfortunately got caught up in the bureaucracy and the politics of them. So hopefully now being out of that system, maybe now joining with a company like Scoutbound, that they can really be a part of a vision to be able to maybe get this off the ground. But that being said, moving on for the company and the stock options and the stuff that beside, let's just focus on the fact that they want to make a AAA game. What type of game would you want Invincible to be if you had the option of that?
I mean, I guess just a linear action game, really. Not open world, but just like a game where you're like a beat 'em up style, like action game. Maybe with combat similar to, I don't know, like Dragon Ball Z, Budokai.
I was just that's funny that you brought that up. I was just thinking that I was thinking about the combat and like that. That's actually a good pick.
Yeah, but something just very linear where you just play scenes from like the comic or the show, and you just basically just brawl it out and whatnot. And maybe you do have some moments where you have like some like interactive storytelling here and there, but that's all really I would want to see. It doesn't need to be something like grand. It doesn't need to be like open world Ubisoft style. Just something just straightforward. You get in, you fight, you go through scenes, and you get out. That's all I would want, really.
If you're making an Invincible game, I kind of would want it in the same breath as the Batman Arkham style games in terms of how they were able to show the pacement. I figured that's where it would probably go. It'd probably be Batman Arkham, but with more blood and violence and gore. In terms of that, anybody that has played the Arkham games, I think they've been kind of brilliantly paced out. Where it would be like you said, you wouldn't want an open world game. That would kind of be my version. It would be the Superman game that we never got in, if you're really thinking about it. This would technically be in that realm. But I think when it comes to a character like, say, Superman, where he doesn't have too much vulnerabilities and you don't know really how to build that game around him, you kind of have that luxury knowing that Invincible Mark's character gets his ass kicked pretty much all the time. So there is a sense of stakes going into it when you go into the Invincible world. And I think the option to be able to go from Earth to space to these different planets, and to kind of be able to build that scale of a game, which I think they would make that turn. I think that'd be great. I also would hopefully like to have the ability to play multiple characters down the road. I think the same way that like again, Arkham, I look at when I see this, I think of the Arkham games being that archetype, in order to kind of make that slightly free roam game with DLC and to be able to include certain story moments from the television show. Or if they're going to go out of the way, they probably would end up making their own universe separate, but you'll still have those characters introduced into the television show. So that would be my game, with a little bit of Dragon Ball Tenkaichi mixed in.
Yeah, sure. Yeah. Okay. Well, it's just something that we, I guess, keep an eye on for now. It's not something that, it's just something to keep an eye on for now, I suppose. Like right now, at the time of this recording, it's like got 13 days for investment. I don't know what's going to happen after the 13 days if they just...
The final day will be at the end of the month.
Yeah,
of
very
April.
much.
April.
Yeah,
30th.
I'm guessing that it's like a kind of flexible funding. I can only assume because it's nowhere near that $5 million max goal. So
yeah.
I assume that it's just whatever they get is whatever they get. So we'll see where it goes from there.
All right, cool.
Okay. So, what's next topic that we need to... Did you want to talk about? Oh, yeah right. Ex-Blizzard boss suggests that people should be able to tip developers after completing a game.
Correct. Yes. So like you said, former Blizzard president Mike Ibra, hopefully I pronounced that correctly,
It's like Mike Ibarra.
Ibarra? Yeah. No.
Mike Ibarra.
It's like, Ibra, like Ibarra.
It's not
Ibra.
It's not Ibra, it's Ibarra.
Ibarra.
Yes.
It's like the roll of the R's.
Yes. Yeah.
So, yeah, Ibarra. Sorry, pronunciation. Tweeted that he basically enjoyed completing, these particularly in single player games. And he said he would love to just simply donate money strictly to the developers to said games. So with that being interested, when I heard about that, now when that was mentioned, I read during the Twitter that there were some mixed reviews. Some people thought that was a good idea. Other people were not with the idea. Some people have already brought in examples of it. I think there was another topic that was used where there's another company that has done that with certain independent games, where you can donate money to the game designers if you so feel need to, as an option. Another person I think also brought this up, reading through this, a gentleman by the name of Paul Kilduff Taylor, who is a publishing company from Mode 7. If that name isn't familiar, he actually published a game like Fights in Tight Spaces that's on Steam right now. It's like a pretty interesting game, like a turn card-based game. And he also brought up, he also mentioned that people have discovered various ingenuous ways to be very angry about this, but by adding pay more if you want options to major stores, which straightforwardly be excellent for devs. It works very well on Bandcamp. So that is his take on that, on the whole situation. But to kind of jump into it, so I guess the question I would say is, what would should virtual tipping be an adopted practice at AAA gaming publishers?
No, straight up no. It makes no sense. And I mean, personally, I'm just gonna straight up say it. I don't like tipping as a concept already. I know that's gonna Mike does bring that up. Like he said, we do tip a lot in this culture. Day of age, so he understands it's not a popular idea, but it's just a suggestion. I don't really understand tipping culture, and this is something that's completely unique to America. It's like no other country does this, and it's just well, now how would that system kind of even work? Would you tip $5 and you would give like 5 cents to each developer that worked on the game? Or do you tip a specific developer? Or how would a system like that even work?
And how can you guarantee that the money doesn't go straight to the publishers to begin with in the first place. Like you said, what would be the order of how that would all work out at the end? Would there be like a pool that everybody would have to honestly tip in? Just so like, would that setup be in the same way, like you said, in certain businesses that where things are tipped? I like to say restaurant, and maybe in the gentleman club industry, I do know that a lot of money would normally get poured into the end of the night, and then that money gets individually split to all the people, all the employees that are involved in it. So, how would that be the setup?
I don't know. And personally, I don't care. I don't think the idea should work with a AAA company because, like, I mean, you guys are already charging so much for, like, day one DLC and overpriced, like, gimmicks with these games that are broken on launch. And it's just like, no. It's like,
but we do sit here. We on this podcast, we do talk about how a lot of the developers are not being treated right under publishers like this, and we always feel like the developers are constantly being cut out on big money profits. Like anytime we hear these big numbers, these numbers don't tend to make it to the bottom end of the developers. The developers don't walk away with scraps at the end of the day. Meanwhile, you have the jackasses that are on the top that are getting all the profits, all the glory, all the fame for everything that's happened off the hard work of developers. I mean, the way this current system that is happening for these developers, they're not benefiting of this. Hence the way, and like you said, we are heading into what everybody's saying is a AAA Western game collapse that's happening before our eyes, though. Don't you feel like there has to be some kind of system that needs to be adapted where developers do get the fair share of profits moving forward on these games?
Yeah, in an ideal scenario, yes, but in reality, that's never going to work. Simply because, again, the publishers are the ones who are going to be handling all the funds, and we all know very well that they're not going to give developers their fair share. I mean, there is already a system for developers if they want to put up their own like tip jars, like systems like Ko-fi.com. If you want to use, if a developer wants to open up that and have people tip to them there, that's already an option. So if they feel that they've done a good job and they want to shout out their Ko-fi on like social media, they can already do that. And I think that's the best that a lot of developers can do at this point, because when it comes to the AAA industry, you know what you signed up for basically at this point. You know that this industry is going to chew you up and spit you out, and you're just seen as very disposable. Unlike like AAA in indie, where you have more control of your creation. And ironically, if I had to again, I don't really understand tipping culture and whatnot, but if I had to tip, I would give that to like indie developers. They need the money way more than any AAA company does.
Okay.
Yeah, so that's basically my take on it. Overall, it's a dumb idea. It wouldn't work it's only going to ever work in an ideal scenario. In reality, it's just bad, and it just feels like
because the article does mention like a company like itch.io, like I said, it's an independent game creators don't have that system set up where if you want to just have a tip jar to those game developers, you can do it. So there is a model out there. You just don't think this model could work in the AAA.
Absolutely not. Absolutely not. No. It's just like the AAA industry needs to just learn to manage their budget more and give developers a fair share. But we know they won't. They absolutely won't. Just the more I learn about what's going on in the AAA industry, the more I have no faith in it.
Yeah, it just seems like it's a very ugly culture. And it's almost like and I know we're going a little bit off topic, but it also does feel like a culture that where there's multiple divisions in a house battling against each other for just 1 year bonuses. You know, like it's almost a battle between that. They build that kind of culture up where it doesn't seem like it's very welcoming and commutative. Where in those spaces, it's a battle to who can make the shareholders happy in terms of getting a lot of the money into fundings and stuff like that. In terms of my opinion on it, I just I agree with you. I just don't know how that would work. And like you said, is it going to go to the individual developers? Like you said, will there be like a pot set up for those developers to take, and like, would that even be enough, and how would that work? And you also have to think about the lifespan of the game. You know, if it's just a single player game option, after that's done, like how what's the expiration date that you can continue to tip, and how would that honestly work out? Is it a live service game? How would that work in terms of the realm of live service games? Is it going to be attached in a way where you tip, where there's a pool every 4 months of royalties that gets split out to these developers? I think there needs to be more clarification if an idea of this would be able to work out in that magnitude. I'm not saying I'm like totally against out. I feel like there needs to be more detail if you're going to bring it up to a AAA scale. And like you said, AAA guys don't want to change things that are made. Like, it's working for them. They're making a lot of money off of that. Why would I change anything that's making a ton of money for me?
Yeah, very much so. It's just I don't know. I don't want to talk anymore about this because it's just frustrating to just hear all this crap.
But that's why we have a podcast. We talk about these stuff, man, because that's what the people are thinking about it right now, and that's what we're thinking about it. So.
Yeah, it's just frustrating, man, to hear how bad the industry is right now. It shouldn't be like this. And it wasn't like this so many years ago, and it just makes you wonder what the hell happened. How did we get to this point? It's just like, and can it even be fixed?
Yeah,
I mean, it's just,
I know. And speaking of which, we decided to go back to our previous topic that we talked about from Ross Scott from Accused Farms YouTube channel that actually talked about the importance of digital consumerism right now that's been happening right now in terms of a particular topic was Ubisoft and The Crew and how they decided to take the game down without really much of the consent of the buyers at the moment. And now it seems like they're going another step further in terms of making sure that The Crew doesn't really have any chance of being played further beyond its online lifespan.
Yeah. Yep, very much so. So Ross Scott has opened up a website called StopKillingGames.com. Basically, this is supposed to be an initiative to basically get people to contact the FTC and other government bodies and to inform them about the Crew and digital game licenses being pulled and basically having their consumer rights being pulled from them, because as the website mentions, a lot of governments don't have any laws regarding digital rights, digital ownership. And so this website basically gives you like a step-by-step instructions on how to contact the FTC and Ubisoft and to let governments know about what's going on with this game, and hopefully set a precedent for other digital only games moving forward. Now, okay, my quick thoughts on this is that, I mean, I really get iffy when you get governments involved in anything, and the last thing I want is like governments to have to regulate these things. I really just wish that companies would self-regulate these things themselves, but again,
they're not going to,
and it's just without any government enforcement. I mean, here's also the issue is like, again, this is something that has to do with just like entertainment, and like a lot of people in government don't give a damn about video games. So if you were to bring this up to them, how would you be able to convince them that this is an important issue? Because I feel like a lot of the boomers that are in government right now would look at this and say, like, what? What are you complaining about? It's a video game. You why are you so upset with digital rights in video games?
Here's the thing. Maybe you present it simply as entertainment, because it's not just a video game issue. You can also bring it as a television and I guess movie issue as well, in terms of maybe you can't, because I'm trying to look at it in the same way like a streaming service.
Unfortunately, that's perfectly fine.
Because with streaming, maybe you can.
Yes, you can actually. That's perfect. That's a perfect example. Like, because on streaming sites, a lot of shows were taken down that you can never watch on streaming sites as well.
Okay.
And I feel like, because Asmongold actually brought this up a while ago, the same exact topic, saying like, if a show that, like, I say a person really loves to watch gets taken down and you can never watch it again, I'm pretty sure a lot of people would be upset in the same vein too. And he also mentions that, like,
same thing with movies too.
In movies as well. I think that pretty much, I think governments would care more if it was with like shows and movies, because a lot of people
and
watch
music
shows.
too.
And
music can be fit into that same category too.
So it's like if your favorite, it's like if some boomer in government saw that their favorite show got taken down, they would probably care a little bit more. But with gaming, like, a lot of these people in government don't give a damn about gaming. They don't even know. They call every video game a Nintendo. That's how old they are. It's just like, but if it was a show or a movie, I think they would definitely care a lot more.
So I think you would have to sit down, and maybe he would have to kind of sit down and maybe retool that, where it's entertainment in general, not just video games, but it would be a little bit more focused on video games, because again, out of all of the entertainment pieces we mentioned, video games are the most interactive one that you pay more upfront the most. All of these things are kind of more as service, and that's why I was a little hesitant to bring that up, because like Netflix, Apple Music, they're more like services that you can kind of pay, and then you get these songs. Yes, they can come in and out, but it's more like a service, where these did, again, like with Steam and Epic Games, they are more of these like services where you buy the game and you have it in your library. All of a sudden it can disappear from you from point notice once the server gets shut down, and they have to kind of delete the game to create more service for the next upcoming game for it. You know, that's why I was a little bit hesitant to bring that up as much of it as an example on it. But,
the whole Netflix and like music and stuff like that's a perfect example, because at the very least, when it comes to video and music, that can easily be copied. It can be easily be replicated and like stored somewhere on someone's hard drive. That's easier to preserve. But with a video game, that's much more difficult to preserve, especially when a game that's online only and requires authentication to a server in order to play, a digital license in order to play,
and to get over around the DM
like digital, the DRM. Yeah, that's what I meant by like digital license. Digital license is basically
it's what really what really kills the game's preservation, is that pretty much.
Very much so. It's just very like frustrating to have to deal with something like that. And I do hope that this gets dealt with, even though government.
And I understand that, government, but you also have to come to a situation where like there has to be a balance in this some way. Like you said, the companies are not going to do it because the companies don't give a crap. Like we just discussed in our previous topic, they're not going to fix what's not broken. right? They're going to get their money out of it so at some point. And I am agreeing with you too. I don't want too much government oversight, but there has to be a balance at some form of way. Like you have to get these, you have to try to get some pressure with the government's work, because also you have to remember all governments are different. How they handle their licensings and how they handle their digital consumerism is different all around the globe. How they do it. So it's not even just an American thing. So not only would you have to figure out how it's done Western culture, U.S. and Canada, but you also have to see how you have to talk to France, you have to talk to Europe, because that's handled differently. You would have to talk to Japan. Japan handles their sections differently. So this is a difficult. It's a lot more difficult than just going straight to our government. It's different forms of it too. So that's tough in its own right. It's just to be able to make sure that all games are preserved across the globe.
I mean, yeah, that's right. I just, again, the thing is just, I just have this like, just this feeling in my mind that all governments are like incompetent to a certain degree. And it's just like, I don't know, man. You're right that each government handles these things differently, but I feel like, I don't know. I just don't like government.
I just feel like, yeah, I understand the anti issues of that too, though. But yeah, I feel like you need that kind of step in order to at least get that pushed, or at least to kind of find somebody that can champion your cause. That, like you said, I understand the government is still run by an older generation that everybody still plays the NES,
Yeah, exactly what I said. Like all these people,
I understand that,
still in government.
I feel like hopefully there are a couple of people that understand the culture enough that are willing to kind of take on this issue, because again, it's not just games, like we mentioned, it's all forms of entertainment. And if you kind of allow this kind of practice to go on for just one game, it goes back to what we said, you give an inch, they'll take a mile. Every version is going to get hit with this to the point where we have no say in terms of our digital content moving forward.
And they've been getting away with it a lot long before the crew was pulled from like Ubisoft storefronts. They've been getting away with it for way too long. And to be honest, I don't understand why it took this game for people to see as an issue. Yeah, because I played so many online only games, like Lawbreakers, like WildStar, like so many online games that I bought into, but I can never play anymore because the servers are shut down. And it's just like, I feel like a lot of us just got used to it at this point. But again, it's just weird that it took this racing game that I don't even think a lot of people were playing by the time it was shut down.
That's the problem. And I think that goes back to what you're saying. By the time that becomes a big issue, if you want to go back to playing it, people have already moved on to the sequel. Like there's already the sequel or another game, to the point where this is not a topic of discussion. And like you said, it's just something of the norm, because you're more focused on the next game than going back to play an old previous game, though. But like you said, people should have that ability to be able to go back and play these games, and to be able to at least have it preserved for history's sake. It is a form of art that needs to be preserved. That way kids can go back to, like future kids can go back and check out these games. We had another topic that we talked about, how retro games are coming back and how that's starting to be big in the market again. Like how what's old is coming new again. The next 20, 30 years, maybe those kids want to go back and see, how did the crew play? Like how are these racing games played back in the day versus how they're playing it in the future? And now you're not going to have that as a history piece to at least show how these games were played, or how fun these games were played at that certain period of time, because Ubisoft decides to pull this bullshit method of stripping away the license, not even allowing some guys to even try to preserve the game just for a small community's sake.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I mean, I don't have too much faith in our government or any government for that matter, but I mean, it's better than nothing. It's better than sitting on our butts and doing nothing about it. So I do hope that this does help in pushing us to get better like consumer rights, because we desperately need it.
I agree.
Yeah, very much. So anyway, that is all we have time for this podcast. What did you think about the topics we discussed here today? Let us know what you thought in the comments. So anyway, that's if you really like this video, please rate, comment, and subscribe. I'm Mikedot with Afro Mania, and we are saying peace.
Take care.